Hey everybody, Happy New Year. This is Chris Cohn again with another segment for Home Diary Stories. Today I'm going to go through my top 10 wish list for Tesla to enhance the Model 3 functionality. Mainly it has to do with the UI of the screen itself, some of the features there, and how I think it could work better and actually be pretty cool. So you're going to want to see number one, which I think has great applicability to any really car owner, and how I think it can actually change how we deal with insurance companies, hopefully to our favor. And let's get started with the top 10. So number 10 is how to use voice more for different functions of the car. I think the Tesla navigation does a really good job of using voice. For example, I can press the little right scroll wheel and say a navigation command. Navigate to Starbucks. So you can see it does a really good job of understanding your voice. So let's leverage that. So if I wanted to open up the trunk or the glove compartment or turn the seats on or mute the radio, whatever, kind of use it as like Alexa to control these different functions of this connected car. Seems like that would be a pretty easy thing to do, given, all those controls are, done through a electronic button anyway. The calendar. So the calendar is a nice feature. I like the fact that, I come in there and if I've got a meeting, I can just press it and it'll automatically navigate to that location in the meeting. I think what's needed is an ability to show your week or maybe even a month view. Right now, it looks like it's only showing the next couple of days. So let's enhance that a little bit. And speaking of, kind of this little shortcut menu, it would be nice to be able to customize this. So if I wanted to, swap out this charging, which pulls up this charging menu, which is nice, but it's the same thing you get here. So it's kind of a redundant menu. So let me customize it. So if I wanted the glove box there, I could put it there. So maybe, a way to look, customization icon, you press that and it pulls up a menu and you can drag and drop icons over that you want to show instead of what Tesla's showing. So that was number 8. Number 7, the mute. So I don't know if you know it, but there's a volume icon over here, or button, so that will raise or lower the volume. But we're always trying to figure out, how do we mute this thing? Well, the mute is over here. So you can control the volume that way, but over here, there's no way to mute it. So basically extend that functionality of the press of the button here to the press of the volume icon over here to be able to mute the radio. That would be nice. Because sometimes, the passengers there, they want to mute it and they have no way to mute it as well. All right, so I talked about navigation a little bit. What I would like is this directional icon over here. This is your true north versus direction of travel toggle. It's kind of far, especially for me. I've got my seat back, so if I wanted to change that, or sometimes it just kind of changes on its own, how do you go do that? I would rather see that icon moved up here where this little arrow is, so maybe make that kind of a more definitive button, and you can just toggle it on or off. If you press where it says navigate, then here's, your navigation, and that seems fairly clear. So basically separate that, get rid of that over here, and move the functionality there. So while I'm up here on the menu, you've got the time and you've got the temperature. So leverage the fact that it's connected and show me the forecast. So if I click temperature, it would pop a little next 5-day forecast, or I could go see it in a much bigger page, kind of like the web browser itself. It does have a web browser, so you can kind of do that, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I'm not exactly sure, when it is supposed to work or not. You can see here on the screen, part of our business with HomeDiary is actually a virtual tour side of our business. So I just pulled up a tour. This is our demo tour, and actually some of it does work. So it's kind of cool. You can just kind of point and click your way through the floor plan, for example, or change floors. So as a real estate agent with your clients, it actually could be kind of a cool little tool. Now there's certain things that don't work because there's no video player supported in here. WebGL is not supported. So that kind of brings up my next request, which would be some kind of phone mirroring option, so that if I wanted to display whatever was on my phone or my iPad up onto the screen itself, I could do that. That I think would be really cool. For example, maybe I wanted to use Waze. Waze is not supported, but if I had phone mirroring, basically it could show a window here. Maybe I could resize it or move it around. It would really extend the utility of this really nice big screen, and extend the utility of your device as well as part of that. So kind of connected with that, my next item is Apple CarPlay, Android Auto support, or support for text messaging, via voice. So the system could read your text. Maybe there's a notification you got a text from, your wife or whatever, and then you could just say, read the text, and then you could reply back to it. Apple CarPlay works pretty well. It's got the nav integrated in. There's some limitations to that. I don't have any problem with the navigation with the Tesla, other than, Waze or some other things might have some more advanced routing functionality. So that interplay between your device, the car, its screen, would be nice in some form or fashion. So those are kind of all commingled, I guess, in a way, Apple CarPlay type functionality, phone device mirroring. But I think it could definitely make the utility of this whole screen better. Okay, I believe I'm on number 2. So number 2 has to deal with the heated seats. This interface is fine. It's kind of cool. You can do that and move things around. But what I would like to see on the heated seats, which I actually often use because they're nice and warm, and it's in Seattle now in the winter, feels great. But you've got this all off button. Well, why not an all on button? Or even better, an all on for only seats that are occupied. I went to the grocery store yesterday. I put the bag in the back seat here because I had a bunch of stuff from Costco, and it actually thought somebody was sitting in the back. So it's pretty sensitive, and it'll know who's sitting or who's not. So why not have all on, all off for only those occupied seats? So you're saving battery where you don't need to use it, but it makes it pretty convenient. The next component for the HVAC is let me set a schedule. So example, my wife gets up at 5:30, leaves the house at 6. She's done at her job at 3. So precondition the car so the seats are nice and warm. It's 72 degrees when she gets in at about 6. And likewise at 3:10 or whenever she's at the car, it would be nice and warm for her. I can do that with my Wemo and the lights in my kitchen, for example. So why not be able to do that for your car? Okay, so the number one request for 2019 is take this dash cam and leverage it and make it much better. Number one, I'd like to see just kind of the overall bird's eye view when I'm trying to park, or maybe an option to click to see bird's eye view. We've hit 2 different rims now while trying to park. I didn't do it, somebody else did. But you know, that's a little frustrating on having a fairly new car here with 3,400 miles, and already 2 of the rims are scraped up a little bit. So that's number 1. But number 2 would be have the dash cam record all cameras, or at least, you know, front, back, and the 2 sides, so 6 cameras. This has real world applicability because we've had this car for 3 months, and our back bumper has now been hit twice. One in the parking lot of our dance studio for my daughter. My wife was in the car, and somebody just backed into her while she was sitting there talking to somebody else. So we know who that person is. The other was some random person at a parking lot while shopping backed into our bumper, and there's 2 indentions now, looks like from a license plate. So the problem is here, the person we know was going to pay for the damage on the bumper. Well, they sent their insurance person out, which is State Farm. The guy came out, looked at the bumper, and he's like, well, what about this issue over here? There's a pre-existing issue. I'm like, well, I didn't even know that it was there, and it was definitely not there when your client hit our bumper. You know, so he noted it, and I had this sneaky feeling, you know, this is a way for them to get out of having to pay money. And sure enough, Friday I talked to State Farm, and they're like, well, the bumper is going to cost $1,200 because of that pre-existing condition. That's about $1,100, so we're going to give you a check for like $130. I'm like, no. Your client hit me first. If the bumper has to come off and anything has to get done, it's because of your client, not because of this other issue. So she's like, well, I'm gonna have to call you back. And so far I haven't heard from him. So anyway, I think, you know, basically create what I call a defense mode. And when defense mode is active, the cameras are rolling, or the sonar and the sensors are active, so that if a car does get within, say, 3 feet, you know, the webcam turns on, it records, and, you know, either it just records and it saves those loops for you, or, you know, if it has an awareness that, you know, the car got touched or something, then maybe that's when it would record it. But if you then got back in the car, it would tell you, hey, there was a, you know, potential incident while in defense mode, click here, and therefore you could see actually the video right here on the screen. The problem right now is you have to take your video, and that's housed down here. Let me see if I can show that here. So you have to take the video on this little SD card and plug it into your computer. So let's leverage the fact this has a screen, it's connected, and let me see the footage right there. So I can either keep the footage or I can delete it. But having that functionality would have saved me, you know, at least $1,100 at this point so far, and this is within the first 3 months of having the car. Plus, you know, it could definitely be helpful to go back against whoever hit us in the parking lot, which is actually a hit and run accident, right? So if I had the license plate, I could go look them up and show the exact footage to the cops. So anyway, those are my top 10 lists. If you have your own, put them down in the description, and we would love to, you know, have a conversation about this. I'm also going to put it up on a blog post that will hopefully engage some conversation as well. So here's a few bonus things that I forgot as I finished the video. But one thing is, how about with this user profile, you sync it to the app. So the app would have separate logins for the different people, and then when whoever opens the car would get access to their settings, and the profile would automatically show up. I think that's kind of a no-brainer. Right now, I don't know that there's any way to have a separate login for the same car. Basically, my wife and I share the same login, and therefore there's no differentiation. So, I don't know. So, separate user accounts with separate settings would be nice as one bonus. So overall, very happy with the Tesla Model 3. It's, you know, really driving the car of the future. There's really tons of cool tech and features that, you know, sometimes you just find every day. Like, you know, we found the ability to turn the radio off with the left thumb wheel. So I encourage you, if you're thinking about getting one, you know, just go for it. Do it. It's a really fun to drive car. You're saving the environment a bit, or helping reduce carbon emissions, and it's an American-made product. You know, made in California. I think it's really high quality for the price. You know, there's some fit and finish things here and there, but you know, every car has that. I think just overall quality, it's pretty good, and the fun factor and the wow factor is definitely at the top. So thanks for listening. Subscribe if you want to get more of these videos. Again, the topics will range more than just Tesla stuff, but Tesla provides some good content to talk about. So until then, thanks for listening and have a great day.